Let us get to that breaking news regarding Hollywood's hot mess and the battle over Warner Brothers Discovery. That hot mess has gone hostile. This afternoon, 4.5 hours after Paramount Skydance launched a hostile takeover bid for WBD that's higher than Netflix's offer for the streaming and studio business, Warner Brothers has now responded. In a statement released at 1:30 p.m. Eastern, WBD confirmed receipt of the $30 a share or $108 billion unsolicited tender offer to acquire the entire company and said it will advise shareholders within 10 days what the board recommends. Warner Brothers shares moving up 4.8%. I believe that's a one-year high. Paramount Skydance and Netflix, well, they're flipping positions today. Friday, Netflix was up, P-Sky was down, and now Paramount Skydance is up 7.5%. Netflix losing just under 4%. What does this all mean? Who's going to win this thing? Joining me now, Netflix shareholder Gerber Kawasaki, president and CEO of Ross Gerber, and Needham, senior media and internet analyst Laura Martin. And Ross, let's just be clear. It's true that Netflix is your company's largest holding, correct?
It's not our largest holding. It's one of our largest holdings.
One of your largest holdings. Okay. So first, your gut reaction. Netflix was up on Friday, and now it is down as we see this hostile takeover bid from Paramount Skydance.
Well, at first, I thought Netflix's main goal was just to drive up the price for Ellison and make it expensive for him because it's going to be a competitor to Netflix in the future, what Paramount Skydance is doing. And many people in Hollywood are very bullish on what Ellison is doing at Paramount Skydance. And so the fact that Netflix actually won this, I was pretty surprised that they were that aggressive in trying to actually win this, because I'm not sure what they would do with Warner Brothers and how that would actually create value for Netflix shareholders other than protecting their moat and making sure there's never going to be a competitor to Netflix. And so one could easily argue that there's antitrust issues to look at, and that's a reality that this deal faces because there would be less competition in Hollywood if this deal happens. So right now it's real messy, and I still actually think Paramount Skydance is going to win, and I think their all-cash offer right now in a lot of ways is superior to Netflix's, and they've got the government on their side, and a lot of this is politics, and so I'd be shocked to see them lose.
Well, to that point about the government being on their side, first, Laura, there was all this chatter that Ted Sarandos of Netflix had actually been meeting with President Trump and has had a pretty good relationship with him. And then, of course, we know how close the president is with the Ellisons. So Larry Ellison, the father of David Ellison, is a donor. And then, of course, Sunday night, last night, he comes out and says while he's at the Kennedy Center that, well, you know, that they'd have a lot of market share in streaming if it were a Netflix-Warner Brothers Discovery pairing. So now Ross already said he thinks Paramount's going to win this. Who do you think is going to win this?
You know, my opinion is that the regulatory path is smoothest for the Ellisons because remember, Donald Trump involved the dad, Larry Ellison, not David, who actually runs P-Sky, in the TikTok deal. So I think they are fast friends. And a lot of things we hear coming out of Trump's mouth feel like they were dictated by the dad, Larry Ellison, about why P-Sky taking over. And by the way, Trump's son-in-law is one of the investors in the P-Sky bid, but of course not in the Netflix bid. So all of this feels like this is a deal with the administration, and they're like the administration sort of part of the P-Sky bid. So I would say they can close it faster with more, you know, not only faster, but with more certainty. And I think that's better for shareholders.
Laura, Netflix's is a $72 billion bid. $27.75 a share, but that's just for the streaming and for the studio. On the other hand, P-Sky comes out busting a move, $30 a share, $108 billion, depending on how you look at it, for the whole shoot and match, the cable assets as well. So doesn't this all come down to what the cable stub is worth here, the Discovery channels and, you know, all of the cable stuff?
Well, in terms of valuation?
Laura first, and then Ross.
Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, part of the valuation that you have to look at is who's going to run the assets better, right? In my opinion. And what's your tax status? Like one of the nice things about the Netflix deal is it has a piece of equity of Netflix and it leaves you a piece of equity of the stub, which if you're a full taxpayer, you like those because they don't have a tax consequence immediately if you're a retail investor. The all cash bid by Paramount is taxed for cash right now. So there's a tax difference. So that goes into valuation. It's not as simple as what you just said, Liz. And then the other thing is, who do you think's running these assets better? Like Netflix has a long track record of building businesses, although they're a little dogmatic and they've said they hate the they hate the theatrical window. So that's terrifying to Hollywood.
In fact, hold up. Can we put up Cinemark CNK if we could? Last check, they got hammered on Friday. AMC did as well. These are the theater operators. I saw Cinemark earlier was down as well. So I get it. I think you're right. It is a lot more complicated, Laura. Ross, give me your thought of what you wanted to say about this. And does anybody really? I do, because I came from Los Angeles. I know the creative community. They're up in arms about all of this. They really feel that the creative aspects of all of this are getting lost in these merger talks.
Well, that's true. And what is old Hollywood, this would essentially put a nail in the coffin to what that is. And what new Hollywood would be in the future is pretty uncertain right now. And it certainly looks much more like the Netflix world. But I would also argue that nobody's made any money on Warner Brothers stock, so I don't think there's a tax issue for most investors in Warner Brothers. In fact, I would argue the opposite. They'll be happy to get their money back in cash and get out of this nightmare. So it's actually amazing how much they're willing to pay for this dog asset that's worth no more than $15. So either way, both parties are vastly overpaying for the asset, and it's mostly because it's such a rare asset to be for sale, but it's also because they're bidding against each other. And so how this plays out, in my mind, still goes towards P-Sky. But if Netflix succeeds in this, not only will P-Sky have to pay them almost $3 billion if they don't go through the deal with Netflix. Remember, that's part of this deal.
Oh,
but it's also
$5 billion, right?
a huge... no, it's $5 billion breakup fee, but if Netflix isn't chosen as the suitor,
right,
Paramount will have to pay Netflix because they already accepted the offer. And so, you know, the way this will work itself out, and a lot of it is politics, and it really comes down to, just because Trump had dinner with Sandros and Hastings are Democrats, and they're very supportive Democrats, and Ellison and Trump and Kushner are involved with P-Sky, and I think a lot of people in Hollywood would rather see Netflix have a competitor, even if they don't love Ellison. But I think people like Ellison in Hollywood, so I think that's just the way it goes, and I think it's better for Netflix if that's actually what happens, and maybe their plan really was just to...
It feels like no matter what happens, Netflix will be fine. Ross, Laura, thank you very, very much. And yes, the theater operators are jumping today. Cinemark up 7.5% on the idea that Paramount, which is big on theatricals, would be the one. We shall see as we continue to watch Hollywood's hot messes. We're calling it here on the Claman Countdown.